Mary Pickford was once the biggest star in Hollywood. She was America's first sweetheart, and for years she rivaled Charlie Chaplin as the biggest star in the world. She was born April 8th, 1892 in Toronto, Canada as Gladys Louise Smith. She always claimed that her middle name was Mary, and later when she would go on to change her name for the stage, she chose Mary Pickford for her grandmother's last name. When she was 4 years old, her father died, and her mother, who was a seamstress, put her two younger siblings, and herself in traveling theater troupes to try and make ends meet. For several weeks at a time, through her formative years, she and her sister Lottie would actually be split up from her mother and her younger brother, and Mary would become the breadwinner. She had to learn how to negotiate hotel rooms, pay, budget for sleeping arrangements and food, all before the age of 14. When she was 16, during her downtime on Broadway, she decided to slum a little bit to do pictures, which was considered seedy and not official acting fodder at the time, in order to make ends meet for her family. She auditioned for D.W. Griffith and was given a spot right there at the time. Throughout the course of her time with Biograph and D.W. Griffith, she constantly negotiated her rates. She started writing her own scenarios, writing her own scripts in order to make extra money. Everything she did was motivated by her family and trying to take care of her family, at least in regards to how she tells it. She started making nearly a film a week her first year and became known as the Biograph Girl. As soon as she realized she was being recognized for being herself, she started pushing to have her name appear in the credits. The studios at the time refused to have actors' names shown because they didn't want them to have star power. They didn't want them to have what Mary would eventually have, which is the name recognition to be able to command her own prices. She left Biograph briefly for a company that was promising her that she would be able to show her name, and ended up leaving very shortly before her contract was even up. Ended up going back to the stage briefly, back to Biograph briefly, and then was finally recruited by Adolf Zucker and his famous players and famous plays. She was given top billing as a part of her contract. Famous Players would later go on to become Paramount Pictures. So throughout the course of her time with Adolf Zucker, they became very close, but would have very heated discussions when contract time came around. Her last contract negotiated with Adolf Zucker, she was able to start her own production company under the umbrella. At that point, Zucker was actually partnered with Samuel Goldwyn, and he and Mary Pickford did not get along. They were clashing personalities. Sam Goldwyn did not believe that she deserved the pay raises that she would command, and that in conjunction with changes that were being made to the way that studios were controlling their own theaters, that prompted discussions between herself, her lover Douglas Fairbanks, his best friend Charlie Chaplin, and her former director D.W. Griffith, and together the four of them started United Artists in 1919 as a form of protest so they could have complete control over their films. She was actually CEO of United Artists at a time before women were even able to vote. Some of the things that Mary Pickford was later known for, she was one of the pioneers of using masking techniques to be able to star in dual roles in different films. One of those was Little Lord Fauntleroy. She was able to create a mask so that herself as the child character and herself as the mother character were able to share a kiss on the cheek, that people still debate as to how that technique was done to this day.